Welcome to Amar Ghare Amar School program. I hope all of you are safe and sound at home by the grace of Almighty Allah. My dear students, during this pandemic situation, you have been attending your classes through, though it is a new way, but I hope you have been very successfully able to cope up with the new way of attending classes, staying at home. In this connection, today I am Muhammad Noor Alam, lecturer in English, have been here before you with a new lesson from your English for Today textbook for class 7. Before getting into the class, look at the board and see the pictures. What can you see in the pictures? Can you guess? Yes, you are quite right. Today, we are going to discuss Unit 6, Lesson 9. The title of the lesson is The Selfish Giant, Part 2. As you know, and I hope you can remember that in our last class we discussed The Selfish Giant, Part 1. And today we will discuss Part 2. Before starting our class, it would be better for us to know why we should go through this text. I mean to say, what would be our learning outcome? By the end of this lesson, you, my dear students, will be able to read and understand the text. Then you will be able to talk about people, place, and nature as well. After that, you will also learn the meaning of some keywords. And finally, after going through this lesson, you will learn the way of telling a story. So, let's get started. Let's first know the meaning of some keywords, new words. Let's look at the board. First, we can see the word castle. Castle means palace. So, you can see the picture of a palace. Then, we see the word blossom. Blossom means come into flower, bloom. So, you can see the picture. The flowers are blooming. Okay? I think you have understood. Now, we will enjoy the story. Let's read the text and try to understand. The children had now nowhere to play. There were no gardens around, and the roads were busy and crowded. After school, they used to go around the high wall and talk about the beautiful garden inside. How happy we were there, they said to each other. Then came the spring, and all over the country there were flowers and there were birds. Only in the garden of the giant, it was still winter. Here, no birds were singing and no flowers blossoming. There were only snow and frost and north wind in it. Here we see two contrasting pictures, two opposite pictures. The spring has come in the country. And do you know the picture of the spring? Look at the picture. There are flowers all around. There are birds singing, and the whole nature is in a festive mood. But on the other hand, there is no spring in the Zion's garden. The winter is still prevalent. The winter is still present in the Zion's garden. There no birds were singing, no flowers were blossoming, and there were only snow, frost, and north wind, as you can see in the picture. So, I think you have understood. I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming, said the giant. He was sitting at the window of his big castle and looking out at his cold, dry, lifeless garden. I hope there will be a change in the weather, but neither spring nor summer came to his garden. So my dear students, here we see the selfish giant, the mighty giant, is now in a pensive mood, in a sad mood. He was thinking, looking out of the castle, looking at the garden, that though spring is present everywhere, in his garden there is no sign of spring. His garden is dry. His garden is lifeless, and he is expecting change. But unfortunately, there is no change in the weather in his garden. Neither summer nor spring comes. And so, the giant is in a very sad mood. I think, yes, you have understood. So let's check it out. How much we have understood. So how will we do it? We will try to answer a few questions, and then we will be able to understand whether we have understood quite perfectly. So let's see the questions on screen. Why did the children become sad? You remember that the children became sad because now they had no playground to play, and this is why they are sad. Our next question is, where were the children very happy? You remember? They were saying how happy we were there. I mean, in the garden. So, the answer could be, the children were very happy in the science garden. Then comes our next question. What is the picture of spring? There are flowers and there are birds all over the country in spring. Our next question is, what is the picture of winter? We see that in winter the flowers don't bloom and the birds don't sing either. We see only snow, frost and north wind remain in nature. So this is the picture of winter. And finally, the question that we have is, what happens in a garden in winter? We see that in winter a garden becomes cold. It becomes dry. Dry means here the leaves of the trees become dry and fall down, and so the whole garden looks lifeless. So my dear students, I think you have been able to answer these questions correctly and perfectly. Now we are about to end our class, but before that, let's try to remember once again what we have gone through so far. Let us remember. In our class, we have learned the meaning of few words. Then we went through the text in which we have come to know about the sadness of the children, sadness of the selfish giant too. There we have been able to visualize the picture of winter and spring. We saw that the spring is something that brings us happiness, and winter is the season in which we remain gloomy. After that, we have answered a few questions. We have also recollected our previous lesson, that is the first part of the story Selfish Giant, in which we read that in the beautiful garden of the selfish giant, the children were playing very enjoyably, but after returning from somewhere, the selfish giant found the children playing and became angry and made a wall and prevented the children from getting into the garden and playing. And in this connection, we see that today's lesson takes place. So I think all of you have understood the lesson. Now, what I want to say you that let's enjoy an animated video on this story so that you can remember much better. And I hope you will be enjoying the video.
The Selfish Giant. Once there was a very large and beautiful garden with soft and green grass. There were 12 big trees in it. This garden belonged to a giant who had gone somewhere for 7 years. One day, when he returned, he saw some children playing in the garden. He spoke to them in a very gruff voice.
What are you all doing here? My own garden is my own garden.
Children panicked and ran away. The giant built a high wall all around the garden and put up a notice board saying,
Keep away. Trespasser will be punished.
He was a very selfish giant. Children became sad as they didn't have any place to play. Soon spring came and all over the country there were little blossoms and birds. Only in the garden of selfish giant it was still winter. The birds did not sing, the flowers did not blossom. The giant started thinking over.
I don't understand why spring has not come as yet in my garden.
One day, when he was lying in his bed, he heard cuckoo birds singing. He peeped out of his window and saw children had made a big hole in the wall. When children saw the giant, they all ran out of the hole. The giant came out of the garden. Only one child was left behind as he couldn't reach the height of the hole. The giant picked up the child in his hands and started thinking,
How selfish I was. Now I have come to know why spring didn't come here. I'll demolish the wall. My garden will be a place for the children to play.
He picked up a big hammer and broke the wall. People saw the giant playing with the children. Now children used to wish him every day. The giant asked the children,
Where is that little boy?
One child answered, He has gone somewhere. Rest of the children used to play in the garden every day. Like this, many years passed by. After years, the giant turned old. On a cold winter day, he saw the tree in its full bloom. Under the tree stood the same child. The giant was very happy to see him. He asked him,
My dear child, you have come back? I'm very glad today. Because of you, this garden has become a heavenly place. I'm very thankful to you, my child.
Saying this, he hugged the little child.
How was that video? I hope you have enjoyed it very much. Now, it's time for homework. My dear students, you know that homework is very important. As we have been saying again and again, that when your institution will reopen, you will have to submit it to your English teacher. And the teacher will award you with marks. And these marks will be added to your exam marks as continuous assessment. So don't ignore it. This is very important. Be attentive and do your homework. So let's see today's homework. Suppose you are one of the children who were not allowed to play in the giant's garden. In this situation, what would you like to tell the giant? Let me tell you once again. What would you like to tell the giant? Number one. Number two, what do you think the giant would tell you? My dear students, thank you very much for joining me I hope you have enjoyed the class. And if you have any question about this class, and if you want to watch this class once again, you can like our page Amar Ghore Amar School, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel Amar Ghore Amar School. Dear students, follow the instructions of the government. Stay home,